Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode we're covering another Johnnie Walker. Very lucky boy that I've been able to cover nearly all of the core range of Johnnie Walkers now. This one and probably the gold label left to do. Ideally I'd like to do the blue label as a full bottle. I did it as a sample years ago, but you guys like a Johnnie Walker video, so here we are with the 18. This used to be called the Platinum label. Now I've got this bottle because of a little collaboration I've done with a friend of mine called Mark Littler. He sent me this bottle over in actually a really nice pack that I'll show you in a moment when I talk about packaging and things like that. But he's doing an overview video of Johnnie Walker in 3 stages. He's already done 1 at the moment, so I'll link that in the description below. But make sure you go and check out Mark Littler's channel. It's really good, kind of whiskey channel, done in a different kind of way. Obviously I do my reviews. He's doing things coming from his specialisation, which is really investment in whiskey and history in whiskey and things like that. So if you're into that sort of thing, which I know a lot of you are, you're definitely going to like his channel, and he's going to go into Johnnie Walker way more than the kind of general review videos that are out there now. Like I'm going to go and do my review of this and be done with it. He's going to talk about Johnnie Walker as a history. But the collaboration that we're doing is really cool. He's asked a bunch of us kind of reviewers to get on camera, review each bottle under kind of set conditions, talking about things like value and packaging and quality and things like that. So that video is going to be coming up fairly soon, where I'm involved in that and I do this bottle from a different perspective, including this packaging, which I'm going to show you later. But today's video really is about the liquid involved in this and the value that I think that it presents. But yeah, that's it. They'll be in the description below, so make sure you go and check out those links in any case. So yeah, so what we've got here today is the Johnnie Walker 18, one of the last bottles in the range that I need to cover to sort of kind of complete my set. So if you're interested in Johnnie Walker, generally speaking, make sure you go and check out my other videos of that. My favourite tends to be towards the kind of green label, the 15. In terms of price point, I got that for about 35 quid. This sells for about 70 at the moment, but again, we'll get into value a little bit later on. Before we do the actual review, I want to show you this packet that came through. I say packet, it's really just a tin, it's a collector's tin. Now this thing here, this is what we reviewed for Mark Littler's video. Really nice, it's lovely. This, I mean, if you're into this sort of thing, this is right up most people's street. Now, this sells for 70 quid on its own. This sells for 90, and the reason why, apart from the awesome tin, if I could do this without getting in front of the mic, you get this nice little presentation case with 2 samples of Johnnie Walker Blue Label. Now that's an expensive whiskey, so 2 samples of it, 100 mils of it for an additional 20 quid is not bad value if you're into that sort of thing. So you need to factor that in, but there'll be links to both of these in the description below. Alright then, finally then, let's get onto the actual whiskey and see what we've got. It's standard Johnnie Walker fare, I'm afraid. You know, it's an 18-year-old whiskey. We've moved away from the single malt blended, which the 15-year-old was. We've moved back to blended Scotch whiskey, so we do have some grain in here. However, I do say frequently on the channel, grain whiskey has its place in kind of cheaper blends, but when you age it for a good period of time, I would say probably a minimum of 18 years, maybe even sort of 15 to 18 years, but really it sings a bit later on. A minimum of 18 years, and it doesn't do too badly in kind of blends like this, and especially when you mix it with some good quality malts. Johnnie Walker gets a bit of a bad rap, I think, on our little circles as kind of like a lower quality whiskey, but I think that's generally speaking unfair. You know, you look at things like the Blue Label, which is definitely vastly too expensive for what it is in terms of actual mouthfeel, but the whiskies that have gone into it are undeniably good quality, and it's kind of the same vibe here. They say on the livery here that it's up to 18 different whiskies, which is pretty good. You know, some of the kind of cheaper ones have like 30 or 40 different whiskies in them, so we don't know exactly what they are. Like on the 15 again, another reason why I like that, they say probably 4 or 5 distilleries that make up the bulk of that kind of liquid. Here they haven't gone that far as to give me that information, but yeah, again, it's a 40% whiskey, it's 100% added colour, so these are all things that lean us away from those kind of integrity malts, to steal a phrase from Aquavitae. But you know, it's got the 18-year age statement, and we're going to dig into it for what it is. So yeah, let's get into the actual whiskey and see what we've got. Not going to talk about colour today. You know, it looks like a typical colour, you know, on the shelf whiskey, but it's definitely added colour. So yeah, let's get on the nose and see what we've got. For me, my first tasting note is kind of definitely on the vibes of biscuity. I was toying with the idea of whether to give it a biscuit name, but like really it's kind of like a digestive, almost like the base that you get at the bottom of a cheesecake without the rest of it. So yeah, it's definitely a biscuity vibe for sure. Honey, but I'm leaning on towards Manuka honey. I don't usually give deep tasty notes like that, but there's a very big distinction between Manuka and kind of general honeys, and that's what we're getting here. Very, very nutty as well. Almonds I'm going with. And some sultanas on the back end. So there's quite a lot going on the nose, to be fair. It's nice. I like it. Let's try on the palate. Okay, so the first initial salvo is definitely sweet and floral, but it isn't sweet in a kind of sickly sweetness, like a cakey kind of sweetness. It's definitely sweet in a kind of biscuity sense. You know, there's definitely some sugar in biscuits, so when you're eating that, you kind of get the vibe I'm talking about when you get the sweetness there. A little bit more of the honey, although that's kind of generalised out away from that Manuka on the nose into a normal sweet honey. Finishes with a little bit of cinnamon as well. The finish, let's try again. Yeah, the finish is kind of like, it's not overly long at all, medium at best. There's some sweetness at the start, morphs into a kind of biscuitiness at the end. I talk a lot about souring out, but it hasn't sweetened or soured. It's just gone more savoury. Is probably the best way of describing it. It starts off sweet, ends in more savoury. Now, I would say nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly fine whiskey. In fact, enjoyable. You know, you can tell it's got that kind of age clout behind it. My complaints are the same for all of these whiskies that I cover from Johnnie Walker. The majority of them, I wish it had a higher ABV, without a doubt. You know, ABV is like fat to the barbecuer. You know, there's additional flavour that comes through from that. I wish it wasn't chill filtered. I wish it wasn't added colour. All of those things would increase the price. It's 70 quid right now, which surprisingly enough has held its own over the last few years. So out of nowhere, unexpectedly, it's now become, I think, probably the cheapest age-stated Scotch that you can buy at 18 years. There might be a few weird indie ones like from Aldi or whatever that beat that, but in terms of general core release stuff that you can get all the time, 70 quid, it's now probably about the same price as a Jura 18, and I'd have this over the Jura 18 any day. You know, gone are the days where a good 18-year-old single malt Scotch was, you know, easy to get and sub 100. You know, there aren't many left that are sub 100 anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, generally speaking, for an 18-year-old age statement whiskey, it's not half bad at 70 quid. Now that set that I had earlier, this one here again, selling for 90. For me, as lovely as it is, that's a bit excessive. I don't really care about having 2 little samples of the Johnnie Walker Blue Label, but I know some people will. Some people haven't been able to try the Blue Label because of the expansive cost of getting involved in that. So having 2 little samples of it to try is a nice little sweetener to this, and I think that's probably worth the extra 20 quid price of entry on that. You know, you may disagree, but that's my opinion on that. But yeah, I think, again, as I said earlier, Johnnie Walker does tend to get a bit of a bad rap. It's nowhere near my favourite of the range still. That crown will be very hard to be toppled off the green label, which I have sitting behind me over here. Love that whiskey. I love the smokiness to it. This is supposed to have some smoky flavour to it, and I'm not getting any of that at all. So yeah, to round it all up, really, same complaints as always. Wish it had higher ABV. If you've got the money, 70 quid is not too bad if you're into this sort of thing. However, you know, it's probably fair to say that you could put your 70 quid to better use to have probably 2 bottles of like the Johnnie Walker Green Label if you're into Johnnie Walker, or even something else entirely independently bottled, things like that. But, you know, like I said, not everyone's into indie bottles. Some people are into just nice, easy sipping, age-stated Scotch, and then this is probably the cheapest one you're going to be able to get at 18 years. There you go. Before I repeat myself too many times, my review of Johnnie Walker. Let me know if you've tried this below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of Johnnie Walker in general, or anything else whiskey related. Chuck it in the comments below and we'll have a quick chat. In any case, I'll see you again on more videos going soon. I'm going to enjoy my last little dram of this. Cheers.